Hi everybody, welcome back to another lesson in my Burgmuller's Opus 100 for Solo Learners course. In this video we're going to learn the swallow, number 24. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Also, I offer online piano lessons if you're looking for one. There's going to be information below. And if you'd like to get this special edition of Burgmuller's Opus 100 specifically for solo learners, links will be below too. The swallow is towards the end of the book, is the second last piece, which already gives us an indication that it's one of the hardest ones in the book. So I would put it at around grade 4 or 5, definitely 5 if you play it fast. It's a grade 5 piece. And it's quite long, and I think what makes it very difficult is that we have the same pattern from the first bar until the last without any break. So you're basically moving continuously with these very fast 16th notes or semiquavers, and the hands don't get a break. And the problem with these kind of pieces is that if there is even a tiny bit of tension in the hand when you try to play the pattern, it's going to intensify as you progress throughout the piece, and evenness is going to be completely gone, and you're also going to start getting pain, and at some point you feel like I just need to stop because my hands feel like they're falling off. And that's what you really want to avoid. So start playing extremely slowly, really thinking about the arm movement, the fingers, and allowing the hand to feel very free. And when you can play it slowly but very evenly from beginning to end, only then start going a little bit quicker each time. There's two ways of playing it. You can either play it with the pedal, and then it feels like the swallow is just basically sliding or gliding from tree to tree, or you can play it without the pedal and get those very sharp staccatos, and then it's going to feel like a fidgety swallow jumping from tree to tree. I think both interpretations work quite well, but because it's a romantic era piece, to me the pedal adds a little bit of warmth to it, especially if you play it in a small room. So we're going to take it in 4-bar sections, and we're going to go hands together, because this is one of those pieces that doesn't really make sense hands separately, because the two hands work together to create one melody. We are in the key of G major, so every F is going to be F sharp, and we are in common time C4/4, so 4 quarter note crotchet beats in every bar. And as you can see, we've got always 3 16th note semiquavers grouped together, and the first one is a rest, so you've got 4 together, and that's what makes up a beat. Now, very interesting to note that all the notes in the treble clef or right hand, which are stemmed up, are going to be played by the left hand, so we have to do a lot of hand crossing all the way through, and that needs to be very even and smooth. So don't do abrupt hand crossings like that. You want to basically time it so you can do it in an arched, rounded shape. It's very important because you're going to be doing that constantly throughout the piece. In the first bar you can see LH, which means left hand, but then it's not written out anymore because you just know that until the rest of the piece everything that's stemmed up is going to be the left hand. It says allegro non troppo, quarter note equals 138, which is insanely fast. So even if you go 110 or 120 in the beginning, I think it sounds more right. And if you go under 100, that's good for practice, but for performance you want to be above 100, somewhere between 110 and 130. I think that's suitable for intermediate students, but if you can go faster, by all means you can go. But you'll notice that at some very extreme speeds the melody is basically lost, and all you hear is just like a very quick succession of notes, which I don't think is very expressive. So the first section, the left hand is going to start with this G and then crosses over to D in the treble clef, then C and E, and then G and D, G, B, and that's our left hand. And the right hand is playing in between these broken chords. So the first one is a G major, D, G, B. Then we have a C major, E, G, C, then back to G major, and that's it. So the important thing here is to think of the 4 notes as a unity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because what can happen is that the left hand separates from the right hand and you start having these little gaps. So 1. And that's what I'm talking about when I say unevenness. So imagine that the left hand is part of the right hand, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So do it first like this without the staccatos, slowly, to practice the movement of the left hand going across the right hand. The right hand is staying in the lovely rounded shape because we're just doing these lovely broken chords. And when you manage to get that evenly, then staccato the left hand, because that staccato is going to mess with the evenness a little bit. It's going to almost feel like it's uneven, but it's not. It's just the first note is bouncing up and the other three are legato. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next bar goes into a dominant chord, a D major 7 with F sharp in the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then D major dominant. 1, 2, 3, 4, F sharp, A, D. And when you get to the end of this fourth bar, that's the end of the first phrase really, you want to slow down a tiny bit when you do that final broken chord. And when you go back to the G major in bar 5, then you go back to speed. So play with the speed a little bit, make it a little bit more rubato. Going on from bar 5 back to G, 1, 2, 1, 2, G. So it's the exact same as the first line. And now it changes a little bit. We've got two endings, a first and a second ending. I only play the second ending in the introduction to keep it shorter, but here is the first ending. 1. And now we have legato here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So legato here. And legato here. And the second ending is very similar, so again a D major, and then D, but C sharp, and F7, and preparing for a B minor. The middle part we're going to a B minor, which is the relative minor of D major of the dominant. So let's go on. We're going to have this B minor chord, B, D, F sharp, B, and we're again crossing over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we have an F sharp major 7, which is the dominant of B minor. So F sharp major with the 7th on a B bass. So B minor, F sharp major 7 is sometimes very useful to block out these chords so you know what you're playing and you know which finger goes on which note, and then you put in the pattern. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and now we have a beautiful legato again. 1, and there's a crescendo and a diminuendo in those three notes. So soft, loud, soft, trying to create that legato with those three notes, and the right hand is playing the accompaniment gently flowing in the background. Going on from bar 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now B minor and A in the bottom, D7, which takes us back to our G major because D7 is the dominant of G major. So we're going back into our tonic key. And this is the C section, which starts in bar 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in bar 17 we get back to G major. So what happened here? We started on D at the top, a G major in the right hand, then down to the D, G major again, D, B this time, and our D7 chord. And again, a little bit of slow down and quieting down. And then we come to this beautiful ending here from bar 17 where the left hand is doing this arpeggio but in a broken matter. So G, B, D, G, D. G, B, D, G, D. And the right hand playing this G major chord, G, D, B. So 1, legato again. Back to staccato. And the final 3 bars coming up, 1, inversion, inversion, and G. And here we have another little arpeggio or broken chord coming down, broken between the 2 hands. Right hand starts, left hand, right hand, left, right hand, left. So really important again to get that fluency here, and very quickly from the left hand playing the G, the right hand moves onto the same note. And that's the end. Dynamics wise, we have quite a lot going on here: diminuendos, crescendos, piano, pianissimo, and you can add a lot more to your own taste. This piece has some sense of rubato throughout, not just with the tempo, but also with dynamics. And when you learned the right hand broken chords very smoothly, joined by the left hand notes going across constantly, just like a swallow would go between the trees, then you start incorporating a little bit more speed, a little bit more dynamics, and making sure that when you go faster, you don't lose the evenness, so it doesn't become, but it stays. Very clean articulation, so these fingers are moving in evenly, and you have this wrist motion, this arm motion that's helping the movement. I can't stress this enough, how important it is to play this slowly and really watch out for evenness, because as soon as you go fast and evenness is gone, the piece just doesn't sound ripe. It's not what it's supposed to sound like. Be very careful with the legatos and try to express them beautifully, because they are the ones that create contrast. So when we have those very few legato slurs, we really want to emphasize them and bring them to the top of the texture. So I hope this gave you a little bit of help with this beautiful piece, and I hope you enjoy playing it. It's a wonderful performance piece, and it's also really good for technique. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. See you soon.